for joining us. Welcome to part 2 of our interview with Jim Mitchell. Stay tuned as we take a look at the mysterious, timeless qualities of music and all of the arts.
A question for you. How have you and your family chosen to use music in your faith journey through the years?
Yeah, I mean, as I've already mentioned, it's been the lion's share of my career. So music has always been kind of right here.
Right.
And my wife and my kids have all participated actively, playing in the orchestra or singing in the vocal groups. So it's been sort of the nucleus of our family dynamic all through the years. To be honest, a little bit because of that, it's not as much part of home. Because it's so, I don't want to say it's absent, but it was so fulfilled and so active and so all-consuming in our church life, multiple days of the week, that we didn't necessarily have it be like music always on in the home or always playing, because it was always on at work. So we were always on at church. So it was balanced that way, but it was very much fulfilled in our church experience. That being said, it doesn't mean that we didn't have quite a strong effect in our lives, and an appreciation and a need for it to be central to who we were in our walk with Christ and our experience with Him. I think for us there's sort of like as I think of Brenda and I especially, there's like the 1% that rises to the top of the things that are just become our heart songs.
Yes.
That way, or our most anchored experiences, and they wouldn't be necessarily always because in my world it's always also the presentational music that I would conduct.
Right.
So there's some kind of core things that became really very special to us through the years. One actually goes back to my childhood, and that's Handel's Messiah. Because I have this, my father would wake the family up on Sunday morning to get ready for church by blasting it.
I love it.
Like we'd be in a dead sleep, and all of a sudden, Messiah would come on ringing through the entire house. So that's how I got woken up to Sunday mornings. But there's a modern oratorio called Savior that was performed a bunch of times at the church where I served there at the chapel. That is the storyline of the scriptures and of God's redemption. That's just I think will always be a favorite and an anchor in our memory and in our lives. And then I just 2 CDs. One was a guy named Rob Mathis did an album called Psalms Alive in the late 90s.
Yes.
That were psalms set to music.
Okay.
Brenda and I have always returned to that again and again and again.
Yes.
For our own worship together and our anchors in our family. And then one of Michael Card's albums called Unveiled Hope, which was the Book of Revelation.
Ooh,
so songs.
okay.
It was really the narrative of all of the Book of Revelation, creatively set by him.
Wow.
And those are probably my two favorite albums from all time. They go back a little ways, but.
But those are fantastic albums to have. I mean, to have Revelation set to music and to have the Psalms set to music. I mean, again, so many, such a rich way to be able to just keep hiding it in your heart. I love that.
Totally.
So we've touched a little bit on what I'm about to read to us right now. And it's a quote that Pastor Gavin Ortland wrote on the subject of music. And it just jumped off the page at Sue and me when we read it. And so we just wanted to share it with you and get your feedback on it too.
Sure.
So he wrote, "If a triune God created the world as a work of art, not out of necessity, but out of love and freedom, then music can be understood, along with everything beautiful in the world, as a faint reflection of the pre-temporal glory of God. It is a tiny echo of what was happening before time and space.
Nice.
What rhythm and harmony are trying to do, however imperfectly, is trace out something of that love and joy that has been forever pulsating between Father, Son, and Holy Spirit."
Wow. Yeah, so that's like the nature of the Creator God is echoed
Yes.
in music and in art, which I would totally agree with. And again, not just music. I think that quote talks about art in general.
Yes. Yes, it does.
The right brain side of life, the subjective side, that is, in our sort of Western Enlightenment logical society, we elevate reason and rational thinking over the other, but
Right.
it's not more real.
Right.
Right? We think we think that it's more real, but it's not. It's the human emotion and the subjective side of things is equally real, maybe more real.
Right.
Artists would say it's more real.
Right.
You know, but yeah, I think it's absolutely true that that's part of this idea of image of God, the Imago Dei, that it's in the fabric of who the triune God actually is. I think that quote used the idea of what were the two words of his beautiful
Rhythm and harmony?
Well, no, the beauty and the that it wasn't necessity, love and freedom.
Right, love and freedom.
Love and freedom.
Yes.
I would add to that joy. Like I think that's the Job passage we mentioned earlier talks about the morning star sang for joy at the creation.
Yes.
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 So there's beauty, joy, love, freedom are those things that they can be words that we say and we know what they mean. But I think God expresses them artistically in all that He's made, and then when we engage in expressing those things, absolutely we echo and we affirm and we there's a correlation of what we're doing to who He is,
right,
in how He's made us. C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, both the famous fantasy writers who were Christ followers as well. I think both would talk about in literature, in the writing of stories, which is an artistic expression, just like music is, or in poetry. They would often talk about this idea that there's like true truth or like an ultimate reality, and anything that humans do in art that is good and true to that ultimate, it correlates to that ultimate reality. So even if it's not overtly, like in our world we like this logical didactic, this is true about God or this is true about creation. But I think artists would say all good human art ultimately correlates to that ultimate truth, right? And that's what we see in that quote that you just read is like, yes, this is an echo and a correlation to who God actually is. So it's beautiful.
It opens the door so wide to some of us can get very much in a rut of thinking this is good art and this is bad art, and this completely throws that aside and says no. Much of art, much of music, of the arts, I guess I should say, is a reflection of God, and a reflection of creation from before time began. And I love when you added joy. It just made me realize that the love and the freedom and the joy are all eternal things. It's not talking about the circumstantial things. It's not talking about the fleeting. It's talking about that eternal. That's really neat. I'm glad we talked about that.
Good stuff.
So, Jim, if there was anything, is there anything else you'd like to tell us on the subject of music? Anything you think we need to know?
Yeah, we could go on and on and on talking about it. I think, and it's interesting, Linda, what you were talking about. Like, we have a lot of times taken upon ourselves to judge whether art is good art or bad art.
Right.
And I can remember staying up all night in college having those conversations about, is beauty in the eye of the beholder, or is there a finite goodness or badness to art? And there's all kinds of these physical or philosophical conversations you can engage in. But I think maybe as a wrap up, we've talked about music a lot here, and that that's the focus of where you guys are in this particular element as it relates to the soiree. But I think a lot of people who aren't musicians are intimidated by the idea of music and maybe don't participate. In the same way, people like if you said paint a picture, they're not if they're not an artist, they're not going to paint a picture. Well, they may feel when they're in a time where they're being asked to sing, maybe self-conscious, or they may think, oh, I'm not a musician, so music's for the musicians, and let's get on, and then when it's fine, I'll endure that, and then when the music's done, I'll engage with the thing that I can engage with. And I would just want to really encourage people that, it is every bit a part, music and art are part of being human, not a part of being gifted in those things.
Right.
Now the Lord certainly gives gifts
Right.
to people to do art in a way that the rest of the world can engage with and participate with. But I guess that's the point. Engage. Don't feel like if you're not a musician or you're not an artist that you can't engage with art.
Right. Add
And
percussion.
and you
Yeah.
and you the thing is you do. You just don't realize that you do because
Right.
you probably drive around listening to music in your car. You probably join in when we sing happy birthday to
Right,
somebody at a family
right,
gathering
right.
without feeling subconscious about what your voice is or isn't as a singer, So in those moments, or if you're at a stadium and everybody's singing a song because your team just won, you join in.
Right.
But then maybe on Sunday with the church that's gathered, you don't feel like you can participate because it's not your thing. Well, think about engaging anyways,
Right.
and think about how, or whether it's the time where you're being invited to actually literally participate, or whether you're thinking about soundtracks to life where there's a song that that express, you fall in love and you have songs that mean
Right.
something to you when you
Right.
fall in love for the first time, or if something bad happens, you have songs that speak to that.
Yeah.
There's I always sometimes I listen to country music now to amuse myself because I have a list of words that I wonder if they're going to say in the song and I check them all off. But I always picture there's a dude driving down the road in his pickup truck listening to the song going, yeah, that's right. That's
Yes.
true
It's
about my
true.
life,
Yes, yes.
So like engage with it. It's who God has made us to be.
Yeah.
And music is part of being human, as are all the arts.
I really love that, and it'll broaden our horizons a bit, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So, Jim, we do thank you so much for joining
my
us
pleasure.
today and for helping us unpack this element of music a bit. And friends, we do hope that you will stay tuned with us for the remainder of the month on our social media pages, because we are going to be continuing to unpack the mighty benefits of music.
Yes, Jim, thank you again. And friends, thank you for joining us. Please mark your calendars for June 6th as we will be unveiling another video update of a new element of the Sublime Soiree. In the meantime, we do pray that your week is truly sublime and that you live each day free above the fray. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.